All right, so Max wrote this email called BOI isn't working, but neither is Elliot working alone. And I think it's cool that he wrote the email. Other people should try to actually talk about this stuff more. That would be good. It's a good discussion topic that's worth trying to think about. It's about like how to change the world and spread philosophy ideas and persuade people of critical rationalism and stuff like that. So Max says he presumes we all agree that spreading good ideas is very important to avoid the end of civilization, and one way is spreading FICRBOI, etc. well. I don't think that he should presume that we agree. Like, most people don't act like they agree with that. What exactly makes it look like they agree? Like, you could probably get some people to say they think that's important. Like, that's probably not that hard, but like getting people to actually do something about it, now that sounds hard. Like, most people, like, if most people cared about this shit, then it wouldn't be that hard to spread because they'd be trying to learn it themselves. You know, the reason that it's hard to spread is most people don't want to learn it. So, like, they just don't care that much about good ideas. They say they care about ideas, but they don't act like it. You know, how willing are they to debate? How many people want to debate me? They're like, oh yeah, I care about the truth. But then, are they willing to talk to me? Are they willing to actually answer questions and address criticisms? Or do they just want to like ignore a bunch of criticisms and like avoid the work of trying to actually think about things? How many books do they actually want to read? How much effort have they put into things like learning how to read books faster? Or setting up their life and their schedule and shit so they have time to read and like actually learn ideas? How many of them actually bother to like put an audiobook on while they're working out? Like, they could listen to books at the gym. But do they do that? Do they want to? Maybe they just don't like books. They could listen to books while they're commuting to work, but they don't, right? Like, what's going on there? Apparently, they're just not that into ideas. So, Max asks if it's better to improve like a few people's ideas a lot or a lot of people's ideas a little bit. So the answer is a few people's ideas a lot, because people who know a lot are like powerful and they can do important productive things. And then people who only know a little bit like don't really matter that much. Like, they're okay, they can fulfill your Amazon delivery or something. You know, they can be productive in like little ways and like earn their paycheck or something, but you know, it's not a big deal. Like, if you can help the very best people, then they can get even better. And then that's like the most important thing in the world is like really, really good people. Like, what kind of comparison is it between like David Deutsch and, you know, 100 of his fans or even 1,000 of his random fans? Like, do you want to help create another David Deutsch? Or do you want to like create one book that helps 1,000 fans get slightly better? It's better to help the content creators. It's better to help the people who actually have ideas that are correct rather than help people whose like lives are a mess anyways and who are just gonna like promote dumb ideas because they don't know what they're talking about. And like, what are the best ideas in the world? What are the best ideas anyone knows? That's an important thing. And the way you improve that is you got like a small number of people that are actually know enough to work on improving human knowledge. You just take a bunch of people who are like not even close to contributing anything to human knowledge, and then you get them all like a tiny bit better. Like, what difference does that make? What's going to happen now? You're not going to get like new important ideas from that. Like, in rare cases, you might get lucky, but a lot of important ideas are connected to other ideas. So you have to like know a bunch of shit before you can contribute. You have to like kind of get to the cutting edge before you can build on it. It's not like that like 100% of the time, but that's kind of how it often works. It's like, first you catch up to what people already know, and then you move past it. if you're like nowhere near what's already known, then the vast majority of the shit you come up with is just gonna be like reinventing things or getting things wrong. So Max says it's important to both skill some people up to be experts as well as skill most people up to be amateurs. At least in the near future. Far future is a different matter. But like, what is an amateur? What is an expert? Like, does an expert mean someone like me? Someone like David? Like, it's hard to skill up even one person like that. We haven't really figured out how to do that. So figuring that out would be good. Does an expert mean someone who like couldn't possibly debate me? Does that count as an expert? Someone who's just completely outclassed? I mean, skilling people up to that level, like, I guess that would be something, but like, you know, it's hard for them to contribute if they're just outclassed by current human knowledge. And then like the amateurs, like what are they gonna do? What's an amateur? Like just someone who's wrong about everything? Or, you know, not quite wrong about everything? Is that it? Like what is it for? What's the positive aspect? Is it like people who are sort of fans of things they don't understand? Do we need like a bunch of people on our side who don't know what they're talking about? Like why? So they'll like give us money? Or like so we can get like lots of views on our YouTube videos? So if like our YouTube videos all have like 1 million views because we have a bunch of stupid fans who don't actually understand it and aren't actually interested in getting involved and learning it for real, they just sort of you know, sit there and hit the like button and pretend they understand it. And like first, you can't even get people like that unless you like don't challenge them too much. So you have to like ruin your content or you're not going to have that kind of fan base. Like if you make the sort of demanding critical content that I make that doesn't just let people sit back and nod and like feel good about themselves while they don't know anything, then with my kind of content, you're not going to get like a big audience unless you have like a bunch of people that are actually decent. Because it's intentionally not sucking up to bad people and making them feel good about themselves. You know, it's intentionally trying to communicate that I have standards and that this is like what the standard is of what you should know or how hard you should think or what sort of effort you should put into things. And if you're not doing that, then you're just sort of not trying in life and wasting your life. And when you say things like that, then you don't get as many just like random followers tagging along for no real reason, which is like what amateurs are, right? Like what would normally be considered an amateur level just like doesn't exist on FI because people like that never stick around because they don't like it. Because FI says people like that are ruining their lives. They're bad people. They're immoral. They should change. And people either listen to that and change or they don't like it and they leave. And you can't just like get rid of that and like start trying to appeal to shitty people having shitty lives. That would like defeat the whole message and the purpose of saying that having a rational life is actually different. I think you get enough trickle down effects just from misunderstandings. You don't need to do them on purpose. You don't have to like dumb down material. Just like make your best material, and then if you can explain it to some people, some of them are gonna misunderstand parts of it, then they're gonna make content that's like not as good, and then some of their fans will make content that's not as good, and you'll get like eventually some people will be making shit that has like little pieces of your content, and then people can get it in like little bite-sized chunks that are less threatening or something. You don't have to like do that on purpose to try to like manipulate people. Like there's already enough degradation just from like misunderstandings and people fucking up. You don't have to do it on purpose. Max keeps talking about we, like it matters that we move as fast as we reasonably can, and we can't do all the work via one end. So we should think about working from the other side too. So first of all, that's not very specific. Like doing what from the other side? Like what's an actual proposal and why will it not suck? Like, is there an actual idea here, or is it just a like call to brainstorm ideas to do this like vague aspiration of somehow getting lots of amateur fans that aren't really well defined, and there's no actual conceptual model of like what type of people they would be and what their opinion of FI would be and like what the point would be. Like it's not really planned out. It's not specific. But anyways, this whole like we thing, who is we? Like, is it Max and me? Maybe Justin? Anyone who will listen? I don't know. I mean, I've sort of told Max what I think. Like, he should read books, you know. I think if you haven't read Dee and Rand, then you're not really in a position to think about things. Like, you're just missing the most important parts of human knowledge. So, like, catch up and then try to actually learn things and then figure out what to do. And like you also got to learn about like what's already been tried, why things don't work, what kinds of things could or couldn't work. Like there's already a lot of knowledge about this stuff. And there have already been a lot of trials to talk with people, to create content, etc. Max is like talking about like, oh yeah, let's all get together and like persuade the world or something. Well, like, can he persuade like one person? Can he even persuade himself, let alone someone else? There's no unified group here. There's like different people with their own ideas and their own lives. And that's what you should expect. Like it's, you know, an individualist philosophy. We're not a collective. We don't want to be a collective. And it's important not to think too much in collective terms and not to put too much stock in collaborations and like to just do things yourself that you want to do. And there's some scope for like multiple people doing good things and having some level of coordination, but like there's something weird about trying to plan like what the group will do before you've actually done anything. If people want to contribute, they need to learn more, basically. I've been saying this for years and people don't want to do it. And Max's email is not focused on that. It's not how can he learn more. And it's not really even about, it's not focused on like anyone learning a lot more. It's focused on like mass popularity kind of for some reason. And Max has this idea something like we'll get existing people who have like big audiences and we'll get them to convert their audiences to FI stuff. But like, can you even convert like one person? Could you take one member of their audience and convert them? Let alone convert the content creator himself? Like there's a big problem there. Max wants to grow the number of experts and also the number of people who could become experts. But like, what is a person who could become an expert? Like, everyone's a universal knowledge creator, so in some sense, that's everyone. I mean, I think he means something more specific, but like, it's not really clear what it is. It's not defined. Like, none of this addresses the problem that plenty of people have seen FI for it to like get started. Like, the problem is they don't like it. They don't want it. None of this addresses that people don't want to hear it. They don't like the message. They don't want to know these things. They don't want to learn it. It's not just that they don't like thinking that much or debating or criticism. It's that there are ideas in FI that contradict the values they already have. That they disagree with it. They don't like it. They don't want it. They think like FI ideas are immoral and gross and stuff. So like that's why it's not spreading very well, is because people hear about it and then the more they understand, the less they like, basically. That's most people. I think Max is assuming something like if we can change a bunch of people's opinions, then they'll learn stuff afterwards, at least a little bit in some random amounts. And like we just have to get more favorable opinions and get the word out, and then people like it or something. I don't know. It's not very specific, but something kind of like that. And even if you could get like thousands of people saying like positive things about FI or about BOI or whatever, that's not like actually useful. Like just because they said some positive things about it doesn't mean they're going to actually want to start like learning and studying and being serious. Like virtually everyone is just extremely consistent about going into evasion mode and burying their head in the sand if you start asking them tough questions. They don't want to like see the issue through to a conclusion and have some of their prejudices questioned. and they're like not very self-aware and they don't want to introspect and change, they're happier when they hear it as like, oh, some other people are dumb, some other people are wrong, and when they're like feeling superior because like they know something about FI and the other people don't. But like when the criticism turns on them and it's like, hey, what about you? What are you doing? You know? Where are your good essays? Where's your good content? What have you studied? What books have you read? Have you discussed them? What have you done to error correct your understanding of those books? When you start getting into that, people, they don't want to talk about it anymore. They're busy. The excuses start.